have to hit the gavel. I officially call the May meeting of Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee to order. We'll start with introductions. Start with you, Sean.
Sean Dashler.
Kathleen Baker.
Dan Tepper.
Lisa Normand.
Joyce Gifford.
Dustin Moyes.
Roger Politais.
And Scott Archer staff. I just want to acknowledge our two new members tonight. Welcome, Roger, and actually Kathleen is Katie, right?
Go by Katie.
Yes.
So welcome,
Both, really.
welcome to our two new members.
Yes, thank you. All right. Man, this board is nice and full. I kind of like it. It seems like it's been a while since, yeah. So it's nice. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you. All right, approval of minutes from our April 24th meeting. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review the minutes. Is there any comments?
I had no
Just
corrections.
sorry, go ahead. Just one quick comment for everybody, as I think since we have so many newer members, a reminder to everyone that the minutes are intentionally written. The written minutes are intentionally very abbreviated. Since we've gone to our recording system where all of our meetings are archived on the city's website, that is the detailed permanent record. Should there ever be any need to go back,
Said exactly what.
yeah, you can go back to that. The meeting minutes are not intended to be transcript of the meeting. They're just kind of who was there, a general sort of summary of what happened. If there are motions or votes of any type, those have to be in the written minutes by state law. But everything else is just kind of, you're supposed to know that you reflect, that we can reflect back to the permanent video recording of the meetings, just as a reminder to everybody. So,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved as written. All right, it's time for citizen comments. We have a very large audience this evening. But I don't think anyone signed up to make any comments, so we'll just go right over that one. Next is our general business. This is where we go through our items. So we've already talked about the 2014 Park Day event, and we can give some details about that, which are that it will take place on August 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. at Wesley Lynn Park. There will be a variety of events and activities for families to participate in, as well as a lot of great information about the city, all city parks.
Prizes and giveaways.
There you go. All right, anything else we want to add?
ECT will be the food sponsor that night.
Barbecue.
Followed by movie night.
Followed by movie night, which has yet to be determined, so make sure people vote for what movie they want. All right.
Make sure all the microphones are on.
Oh, make sure your little red button is lit up.
It is now.
All right. Scott, do you have a follow-up for the city commission report?
well, our
Since
two
our
members,
guys aren't here.
our two members that gave the report are not here. I can just tell you that if you want to go back and watch that, speaking of the video that we were talking about a minute ago, of course the city commission meetings are all videoed, and those are all archived online as well. And you can go back in there and watch the report that they gave at two commission meetings ago. They did a really nice job. I think the commission really appreciates the update. We started doing that some years ago, maybe like when you were first on the committee the first time around, Sean, and it's been a really good communication tool with the city commission to the point where I think PRAC actually kind of started that, and now the commission has asked that all the boards and committees give an annual report, and it's just a really good exchange of information. So the information was well received. I think Bob and Mike wrote a couple of emails that everybody was copied on, so I'll just kind of leave it with that in terms of what the report was. But just to tell you that it went really well. They did a great job of preparing, and I think the main follow-up was the dog off-leash area item that we need to go back to and actually start to kind of implement and work towards.
So that was the May 7th City Commission meeting?
I think that's correct, yes.
Okay, and You don't know about what minute time that was in there?
Well, if you go to the video, it'll actually have on the left-hand column of the video link, it will have the agenda of that meeting, and you
They're
can
on
just
the-
link directly to it. It'll say Parks and Rec Committee report, and it'll just pop you right to that part of the meeting. It was near the beginning, but there were a couple other presentations that night that were before that. So
And I've done that. It's really easy to use, user-friendly when you pop
Yeah,
into the agenda.
works really well.
It's kind of slick.
Nice.
But yeah, good question.
All right, thank you.
So that's really all I've got for you, since Bob and Mike aren't here to tell you more.
They can tell
That's-
us next
yeah.
month. Willamette Falls Legacy Project update.
Well, as you may know, if you have been following anything in the media the last few days, the property has been purchased by a private development company. I would refer you to, if you want to know a lot of details about it, I would refer you to the Oregonian or the Oregon Live website. You just go into the Oregon City section. There was at least one pretty lengthy article, and you can learn about the developer and that kind of thing. So I can tell you that part has been that has occurred. Our interest is still the same in that we, first of all, the master planning process that's been going on that Parks Committee has been actively involved in and engaged in, and you've been receiving reports and updates from our planning staff that are guiding that process. And you got one of those, I think 2 meetings ago, you got another good update from them as to the approval process for that master plan. So nothing is different or changed. That's still moving forward. Looking for, I think, July approximately is when that's going to begin the process of being adopted. And the public access piece, the walkway, very, very much still something that the city is working on with its partners. There have been some preliminary discussions with the new developer, the new owner, which is a development company. I was not involved in those conversations. This has all happened relatively recently, so it's everything is pretty fluid at the moment, and I'm sure there'll be more to report later. But my understanding from the discussions is that the new owner is interested in the master plan process, is supportive of that idea, and is supportive of the idea of the public access piece, which is really the kind of the piece that we've really focused on is gaining that access to the falls and having a permanent public access. So at least for now, I can tell you that there seems to be that level of support, and of course it's going to be a work in progress, and we'll keep you posted on that. Unless you have any questions, I can attempt to answer. But and again, I'd refer you to take a look at that article that was in the Oregon Live. It gives you a lot of information. I think that's it. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the Oregon City High School construction class. We had a letter that went out that we didn't approve at our last meeting, but we said
We approved it the one
we did
before.
approve. Oh, okay, good. So then is that being distributed through, or is there an update? Let me just ask that question. Is there an update on getting that out? Did we send it to Britt Tucker?
I'll tell you what's going on there.
Okay.
The letter was done, and actually Bob Burns came in and signed the letters on Monday before he left town. They will be distributed. There's an end of the year recognition event for the high school construction program. They do this every year at the end, near the end of the school year. This one is going to be next Tuesday, May 26th at 6 o'clock, and they meet at Wesley Lynn Park in the shelter that they built, that program built. And I think this will be maybe the 3rd year that they've done it at that site. It's a really, really neat event. A lot of all the students and lots of family and guests, and of course anybody that would want to attend is welcome. So they just kind of do a general recognition and a wrap up for the year with the instructor Britt Tucker. Mayor Neely gives out a certificate from the city. We've done that every year. He actually goes and hands those out, and then this year the new piece is that the Parks Committee has written that letter of commendation, and it's signed, and I will be there. Bob, I think, was maybe going to be there, but he wasn't quite sure. And so again, if any PrAC members would like to attend, that's terrific. But either way, I'm going to be there. I go to
Is
that
that
event. And
Tuesday the 27th? You said 26th, but,
maybe I said the wrong date, but it is.
I know it is
yeah.
Tuesday.
It is the 27th. I apologize. Yes.
Okay.
This coming Tuesday, the 27th. Thank you for that.
6 p.m. at Wesley Lynn.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I spoke with Mr. Tucker today, and he thought there was also going to be like a general letter of thanks to the entire class that he could copy and distribute to, not the seniors, because the certificates were mostly for those.
It's going to all now.
Oh, it's okay. They
We-
each individually get a letter.
We specifically reworded it so
Okay.
that it's going
Yeah.
to all.
All right. He wasn't clear on that, so he thought there was one general letter that he had to make copies and they could all put in their
No,
portfolios.
they're going to get
but-
this. Yeah.
Everybody gets one.
Each-
With their
Okay.
we printed those off with each student's name inserted into the letter, and then Bob, as the chair, signed. He hand signed 27 or 28 of those the other day. So that's probably what Britt's talking about, and maybe there was just some misunderstanding of how that was going to work. So every student gets a personalized letter from PrAC, which is really nice. It's a great thing. So that's that part of it. And then I was going to let you know that Bob has also been working on something with the school board. He's actually been in contact with Superintendent Didway to do a recognition at the June 9th school board meeting, whereby the hopefully we're trying to see if Mayor Neely can go. I'm not sure yet on that, but for sure Bob will be there. And again, any other PrAC members that would like to come, yeah, you'll probably be there
I'll
anyway.
already be there.
So maybe you could switch hats and be a PrAC member for a minute or something. I don't know, but anyway, this obviously is publicly recorded and available, but maybe the word won't get out. But at some point, it's not going to be any kind of a surprise. But Mr. Tucker is going to receive some recognition at that event from the city, specifically from PrAC, and that Bob kind of spearheaded that and directly contacted Larry Didway, the superintendent, and made some arrangements, which is really nice. So, and I think that's fantastic, because that's a great program, and Britt, the instructor, has done a lot of work on that program and has done a lot for the city through that program with us. So.
I wonder if it, just in general, is there a fairly easy way to quantify maybe the total dollar value that they've done for the city as part of the statistics?
We've tried to kind of put that together before. I don't know that we've caught up with the recent projects, but yeah, we've got some.
I would think so. I mean, it's got to be in the hundreds of thousands
It
of
is.
dollars.
Yeah,
it's
and
a huge number, I would think.
Yeah, it is. It's in the several hundreds of thousands of value had we built them ourselves. We do know that, but at one point we had it figured out, and then that's been a few projects ago, and we I think haven't quite updated that.
At least knowing it's fair to say that based on his efforts, the city has benefited from hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of effort.
That is safe to say.
It's just amazing. You can't say enough how much thanks we owe them. So, and Bob for spearheading this.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. It's on the next one on the project updates. Because I talked to him today, so we'll look, what does Scott know about the project updates? And then I'll,
Sure. Were there any other questions about the other stuff before I move on to that?
about the recognitions.
So just a general update on the two projects that they're working on right now are Chapin Playground replacement and the EOT, the end of the Oregon Trail site stage. Chapin Playground is the one that is on track to be done this year. They're going to be pushing it right up against the end of the school year, but we have all the equipment being brought in. And just a quick refresher on that project, we had budgeted to do the replacement of that playground anyway, and the school program was looking for some additional work to do, so we kind of melded those things together. They like to put things together, and we said, hey, we're going to buy the equipment and probably pay somebody to install it. If you guys want to install it, we'll still buy the equipment, and you don't have to do the rounding up of materials like they usually do for their projects. So again, saved us a lot of money in the few thousands of dollars in this one, and allowed us to save some money on that project. And so anyway, that's all on track. The equipment is being delivered probably tomorrow, and then they have to do the concrete curbing around the playground and putting in some of the, actually in this project we're going to replace, instead of the chips, the fall chips that you usually have, we're going to put in those squishy mat things, which is the first one of those that we'll be doing in the city. So we'll see how that goes. Actually, I think the money that we're saving from install probably is what allowed us to bump up to buy those and put those in. So then the EOT stage, we've talked about the issues with the permitting and the different things there, but what we have decided with Mr. Tucker is that because of, they're focused on getting the Chapin playground done, and the permitting was such that we weren't going to be able to do the stage during any part of this school year, that is going to be a project that it'll be construction ready for the beginning of the school year, so they can move right into that one. And normally they don't get to start their construction right at the beginning of the school year. They do it towards the tail end, but in this case they can work in the early fall season when we get that good weather until it gets mucky or whatever, and then finish it in the spring. So we'll have the stage done for next year, but that will be and then are you gonna talk about the next project or something that
Well, just the one thing what they're planning to do at the EOT
Yeah.
is if they can get all the permitting done so that the concrete guy can pour the T-footings for the stage this summer. That's what they're, because they need to get the concrete poured
Yeah.
first. That's what.
Yeah, and if it comes together, we're obviously going to keep working with them, and if something comes together like that.
Yeah, and the kids are real excited about having a project to jump in right in the fall. Yeah.
Yep.
it's-
And then they're looking at the next few years out or whatever, and putting in for projects, and we're talking about some different things. So we'll be coming to PRAC as we've done. And again, for the new members that aren't aware, this high school program is it's a wonderful program, and the students treat this as a business, and they are asked to be responsible for the whole project, and they will come in to the Parks Committee and they'll present their project, and they'll have a model, and it's usually a very high quality
Detailed,
design
yes.
model to show what they're proposing to do, and they'll work through the discussion with the committee, and the committee will say, hey, maybe we could look at a couple little different ways of doing this, or change the color. There's been a lot of good interaction with that program, and then they'll go out and do some of their own, knocking on doors and fundraising, and get some of the products donated, and eventually they go out and build these things. It's really wonderful.
So they currently have a grant that they're requesting for a little over $18,000 from Metro Enhancement Grant.
Mhm.
So, and that will be
Go for it.
for a very underused park, which is Atkinson Park. So you've been to Atkinson. How many of us have been to Atkinson? Okay, we've been to Atkinson Park. So for those who don't know, Atkinson Park is where the Buena Vista House is, the condemned Buena Vista House. Okay, so that's coming down. So that their first project there that they've identified would be covered area, and it will use the same footprint for the covered area that's currently at Atkinson Park, but it will look like Wesleyan Parks. Okay, so that we're going to kind of have a theme on all our parks. It's going to be cool. Tie them all together.
Exactly.
Because once
Yeah.
you come up with a great mousetrap, it's good to just
Yep.
keep making them the same. So that's
So if they're successful in the grant,
If they are, yes.
they will come, and then that's what I was talking about. Then they'll come and present the concept to this committee and work through the design piece and all that stuff. Yeah.
so. Britt has some great ideas. What he would like to see done with the bathroom there. So I'm sure he'll be talking to you about that. He said there's some plumbing issues that need to be fixed, which the class cannot do. But if the city and the parks could work on the plumbing and get that fixed, the classroom would redo the roof, put in some skylights, and new facade on the outside. But again, that's going to be phase 2 or phase 3, depending on how they can get the funding. But that's going to be kind of nice. New play structure there, possibly at Atkinson Park. So.
Yeah, and in essence, they want to kind of adopt that park like they've done, where they'll adopt a park for 2 or 3 project years and do
Wesley Lynn was
over the course of those years a few different projects. So they kind of want to do that and bring that old park back to life a little bit. So that'd be nice.
another one of those little hidden gems
It is.
in Oregon City.
Yeah, and I don't know, Scott, you might want to explain for everyone how that whole process with the Metro Grant works, where we usually have folks come in and share their projects with us, and we
Sure.
support them or ask questions about them before they actually submit for the grant, and then they're awarded the grant based on
Mhm.
the committee who decides what projects Metro will be funding.
Yeah. So the Metro Enhancement Grant process is, as you all know, down at the bottom of the hill, at one of the main entry points to our city, we have the Metro Transfer Station, and as a host city, we get there's a payback for being the host to the garbage dump, which is we get what's called a tipping fee for our city, and out of every ton that's dumped, there's an amount that goes directly to the city, and there are some parameters on how that money gets used, but basically it is. The stipulation is that it has to be used for things that enhance the community, that make the community nicer, hence the name Metro Enhancement Grant. And the way that the city of Oregon City has chosen to do that process is that our city commission and some other citizen members that are appointed are on what's called the Metro Enhancement Grants Committee. And every year there's whatever the projected amount of revenue that's available from that is put into a pot, and any community group or organization can come forward and apply. There's some parameters, and then typically if you know there's partnerships, those help the grant process, and in our case the high school group has partnered with us, so we're usually supportive. In fact, I don't think they came to PRAC for the Atkinson stuff, but they came to me and said, can you just write us the letter of support that you guys usually do? And I did that just on behalf of the city, because we're usually just inclined to support their project. So I was going to say some other piece to that. Anyway, that's kind of generally it. Was there something else specific
Nope,
about
just
that?
kinda
That's
how that
kind of the
process
process. Yeah, and that happens in May. That granting, did you already say this, Joyce? The date of that is when they would know if they get the funding is it's not jumping off my calendar right now. Anyway, it's
You can
coming.
ask somebody who's on that committee.
What's that?
I think
It
William's still
is-
on that committee.
It is next. Yeah, it's next. It's a week from tonight.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, a week from tonight,
Okay.
and that happens right here in the chamber. So we'll know a week from tonight if they get funded. And like I said, there'll be some. Shortly after that is when they start doing the follow-up stuff with us, and once they know they've got the money, they can come back and start talking about the projects more specifically.
And the tipping fee is 50 cents a ton right now,
Right.
but Metro might be upping that.
That's correct. There's some discussion going on about that, so there might be some more money available in the future for that program. So
It's a great program, actually.
yeah, it is. So any other questions about that? Anything else I can tell you about the high school program? So again, next Tuesday, the 27th, at Wesley Lynn, we'll be handing out the letters and the certificates and thanking them for their partnership and all that good stuff. And then the school board meeting coming up on the 9th. So
So Thursday, the 29th is the Metro granting.
yes.
All right. Let's see. Anything else about high school construction class? Okay. How about the cemetery access issue? I believe that was the gate that was locked in the
Right.
back that we had a citizen concern on.
So last meeting, you had a citizen come to you and express some concerns about what you just said, Lisa. A while back, 2 or 3 years ago, we made a decision to lock what's kind of referred to as the back gate in the cemetery that was due to some safety and security concerns of vandalism that was occurring. And Ms. Toll came to the last meeting, and I followed up with her personally. We had a couple of really nice conversations and talked about maybe some potential solutions. I've been talking to our staff about that, and we're kind of brainstorming. What we may do is look at possibly just putting in one of those pedestrian gates where just a person but not a vehicle can come through. And we're looking at some security camera kind of things and that type of thing that we've done in some of our parks where we have high levels of vandalism, which is good anyway, because in our cemetery we unfortunately do get a lot of vandalism. It's cemeteries are targets, knocking over the headstones and breaking things, and so it kind of works well for maybe being a test case for putting in the first of any security cameras that we do at the cemetery. And we've done that at a couple of other park sites, and we can go back and review the tape and take that to our police department when we have issues. So at any rate, we're working. You asked me to report back to you on this particular topic, and just tell you that we're working through it and hoping that we'll come up with a solution. And of course, the solutions cost money, but we're working through that and seeing if we can't come up with something. There are other neighbors that want access back there as well, not just that one person. So
You'll keep us informed.
I will do that.
Thank you. All right. Next item, scheduling summer parks tour. Yes. And that is something that we've done traditionally, I think, actually, for several years. Has it been a while since that's happened?
We missed last year, but
Okay.
we've maybe done it every other year is probably about
Okay.
what we've done, yeah.
So we get
Newbies.
one of the vans or what do you call them, the buses?
Pioneer Center buses,
Yeah.
the small buses.
And we
yeah.
get to go on a parks tour.
Sounds good.
It is pretty fun. Scott usually gets us dinner and we
Yeah, we bring in some
Go
food, we
around.
eat.
Yeah.
You're raising expectations.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's all right.
We eat
It's
while
nice.
on tour. right?
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
We have it's like a parks crawl.
Yeah.
And
That
there's a
is.
different, here we have our salad, then we have our soup, and then we'll
Give
have
it to Joyce.
and dessert, the last one, right?
Now you're really setting me up for something. A progressive dinner at all the
Yeah,
parks. No.
yeah, progressive
It's
dinner.
not that. I can't pull
I
that
like
off.
it.
So I guess we just need to decide when we would like to do that. Coming up in the summer. Now
Not in August.
No. Do we
Before.
We usually take July off, don't we?
Usually August.
August
Yeah.
off. So
We're meeting early August this time.
I was actually going to suggest maybe looking at your July meeting as the park tour meeting.
That's what I was just thinking.
We can meet apart from this meeting. You can take an extra day of the month and do that if you feel like you don't want to not be able to do some business for a month. But usually it's not a big problem if we do. We've done both. We've had a separately scheduled tour, or we've just done it on the night of a regular meeting, which I think is nice for you as volunteers, not to have to do another meeting night. And we do bring in some dinner, and we usually start early, maybe 5:30, and we go until close to dark. I think it's been those that have been involved in this, some of the members, and I know Mike, and I don't know if Bob has, but Mike has as well, have advocated that we do this, kind of regularly. It's a good event. So
I loved it. Huge benefit.
just kind of gets us out and
The
puts us into
trouble
some
with
places.
the Thursday night, though, in July, is concerts in the park.
Concerts, yeah.
I look at it as our official meeting night anyway, so we're already not.
At concerts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
concerts,
don't
yeah.
you don't meet typically you don't meet in August, so it doesn't you don't interfere with your meeting doesn't interfere with your ability to go to the concerts in the park in August. So you miss one of the Thursdays, and again, whatever you'd like to do, I'm happy to work with you if you want to reschedule your July meeting for a week that you're not bumping into the concerts or whatever. But I kind of tend to think what Sean said. We've missed. It's
Hence
one.
who's
one
playing
Thursday.
July 24th.
So basically, whatever direction you want to go, you just let me know, and I put that in motion and get it set up. And we'd come back and talk probably at the next meeting about here's kind of a tentative list of places, and if you have some ideas on other places you'd want to go. There's always some of those parks where even if you've been around the community or if you've been on the park committee or whatever, almost every one of those trips I've had somebody go, I had no idea about these parks.
Yeah.
Some of them were just, like these hidden gems or whatever, and so that's always fun. But also just learning some new things about parks that you already know is great too.
Well, I would recommend that we do it that night, the July meeting night at a 5:36. That doesn't matter to me. And I would think, just thinking of places that we should see, one is we should see all the potential off-leash dog test sites for discussion. And then some of the challenging parks. So like Atkinson, there's a building that's going to be condemned. So I think that's a place that we should walk around and discuss. Also the fringe parks. So Filbert Run, go out to that property and look at that. Look at Glen Oak. Usually, I think, especially for people that live up where I live, getting over to Park Place just doesn't happen. So, looking at some of those opposite end, and then that usually draws into a conversation that Scott can talk about challenges. Getting field mowers up there or vandalism or whatever. So those are the things that come to mind.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
July, it would be a good time.
Our
The July
regular
meeting.
Okay. I'll give up my concert.
I will plan for the July meeting to do that. We'll put this on the June agenda to get more specific, like what you were just talking about, Sean, and other. So I would encourage you to bring back any thoughts you might have about if there are places that you specifically would like to visit, or if there are particular issues that you want to talk about, that we can cover. We probably will go also see, for example, our two undeveloped future park sites that are going to be master planned this year that you'll be hearing a lot more about, and things like that. So we can kind of work through a list of proposed sites next month if that's all right.
Sounds good.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm going to just keep going. Let's see. We are well, that took care of that. Any other general business?
I had a couple things that can fall under this or other parts. One is the off-leash dog area part came up on the annual report to the city commission, but I think now that's at a point we need to be discussing that. And what are those next steps? I think we need to get into action items on that, because I think this is really drug on way too long. It needs to get implemented, and we need to get some momentum behind it. So I'm not sure where it's at with regard to the commission and talking to the neighborhood associations. Joyce brought that up before as a concern. So I'm not sure what needs to happen at the next step, but I think we need to get it teed up. So that would be my first one. And the second one was just, can you, after that, give maybe a brief overview of the status of park hosts? We had some turnover a few months back, and you talked about having most of those spots filled as we get into summer season, and then again for the new people, kind of explain that general process. That one's kind of not as important, but I figured it's a good topic.
So what I would, for the first one, if I could suggest we put the off-leash discussion on your next agenda as really to dig into that item and okay, now that I think what partially held it up was we kind of delayed out getting the report to the commission done, and that was a big piece of it, was reporting back to them. And now that we've done that, and there certainly didn't seem to be any concerns about that from the commission, so I think we pretty much have the green light to kind of work through that and get moving ahead. So I'd say put that on the next agenda, and let's just pick it up from there, and if that
From there,
works.
we'll decide what our next steps are.
Yeah,
Good.
and
And then
then
making that happen.
Great.
Because we
Yeah.
need to get them on those neighborhood meetings, because I know Hellendale has a first Tuesday of July or something. Is their quarterly meeting, and it really needs to
Yeah, and
be.
that's kind of my concern. If we're pushing deadlines, let's make sure we.
And I don't know when Park Place and what were I know that there was Wesley Lynn, there was the one in Park Place, and then
And the one right
Barclay.
across the street from Doug Neely's house.
Barkley.
Barkley, and that Doug Neely's old house, and that was in
Old house,
McLaughlin.
yeah.
Okay.
okay. So we'll get that on the June agenda as well.
And for the new members, what we've discussed is I think the commission brought it to us to research, and what we've come up with is the idea of an off-leash area, not a quote dog park, but an off-leash area that'll be signed, this is an off-leash area, and it's a test thing for a temporary period of a year. We'll come back and review it, and we picked 3 places across the city. One at Wesley Lynn Park in the back area that's kind of an undeveloped piece of land, one at Barkley, which is just a nice open field basically, and then clear up again in the Park Place area, so you kind of get all the citizens served in some way. And so we've been waiting to kind of report back our idea to the commission, and then the next steps now are going back to neighborhood associations to get kind of their buy-off and then implementation. That's kind of what this is all about.
Yes. Thanks, Sean.
And then I can give you the kind of a quick update on the park hosts. Wasn't quite prepared for that, so I might have to report back to you a little bit more at the next meeting, or even just send you a follow-up email, because there's a lot of moving parts, because we're still filling a couple of those spots, and so in fact there's some new applications that have just come in, so I'm not even, like, as of today, some things may have changed. So I'll give you what I can tell you right now. I may need to follow up with a little bit of the info on that, but just generally, especially for the new members, we have a park host program, and we have that at 5 sites, kind of some of our either more well-used sites or parks that need some extra visibility. Let's see, Clackamet at the RV park, that obviously, because there's RVs there anyway, and that kind of tends to be like a traditional camp host you'd see at maybe a state park or whatever. And then we have those at Park Place, Hillendale, Chapin, and Wesley Lynn. Wesley Lynn is a little unique. We, as part of the property that we purchased, we acquired an existing house, and until such time that we decide that we want to do something else, the house is very much inhabitable. It's a good house. We do in exchange for the services that you provide as a park host, we do a reduction in the rent. We don't give it away for free, but you get a rent reduction. So the way that the park host program works is, other than the Wesley Lynn, because it's actually a residence, is those parks have we have an area, like a little RV pad, if you will, a concrete pad, and we give you utility hookups, and we don't charge for the space and the utilities. In exchange, we have volunteer service. It's a volunteer program, so in exchange for basically a free place with the utilities, you provide, and it's dictated, we have a little contract, and you provide some support services for the maintenance of the park, as well as just visibility, being on site, security, talk to people, kind of be a presence for the city, what have you, at those different sites. And it's been, the program's been in place for longer than I've been here, which is 10 years, and it's been a really good program. It's unique within city parks. You'll tend to see this for sure at state parks and maybe county parks where you have overnight, but to have that at a city park is a little bit of a unique program, and we've evaluated it and reevaluated to make sure that we want to continue with it, and it's definitely worth it. One thing you'll hear us talk about a lot is our very challenged maintenance department in terms of staffing levels and resources. So these folks provide a lot of support for that. We just kind of some basic things, emptying garbages and opening and closing restrooms and cleaning the restrooms, and picking up debris in the park and just things like that. We provide some equipment, one of the little gators, the little 4-wheelers that you run around the park and put trash and tree limbs that fall down or whatever, and that kind of thing. So really good program. And so then to get a little bit more into what Sean was asking about in terms of the turnover we had, it's been kind of an interesting, unique timing. It just so happened that we had, I think, 3 of the 5 sites turned over in 1 year. Typically, the way we've filled those positions is we do a little bit of outreach and a little bit of advertising, but mostly it's been word of mouth. And in the past, we've had more people that want the positions than we have available. And for some reason, that doesn't seem to be the case this year. We haven't had as much luck with that. We've had a little bit more of a challenging time filling those positions. So we've put out ads in some of the trade magazines where people that do RVing and maybe retired people that, you know, that kind of come seasonally. And that's the thing, too, is it turns over seasonally. You know, we'll have somebody in for a few months and then out or whatever. Sometimes we get a little bit of a longer-term situation. And we've done some other ways of advertising, but we've had a little bit more of a challenge. So I believe we still have 2 sites that don't have park hosts as of today, but that was the part where I want to be careful about not giving you bad information, because we had some new applications, and I need to speak with Denise about what transpired over the last just day or two about that, and so I can give you a little bit more of an update and let you know when they're filled and so forth. But yeah, so you'll see those folks if you go by the parks. You'll see an RV parked right in the front of the park, and you kind of go, "Oh, what's that about?" So that's what that's about.
Thank you.
Does that kind of answer your question? I know there's a little bit of
Totally.
information. Good.
Totally, yeah. I'm just kind of curious where we were at.
All right. Now it's time. Is there any other general business? All right. It's our PrAC member reports. And for the new members, you just if you have anything you attended or any information that you want to share, this is the time that we get to kind of share what's been going on. And if you don't, you just pass. You don't have to share anything. So I'll start with Sean.
I have nothing today, believe it or not.
Nothing.
Nothing for me.
I just want to say thank you to all the folks who helped with the cleanup day on the 26th.
Yeah,
That was
thanks.
a great turnout. We got all our trees planted, and Doug came, Mayor Neely came and talked to the kids about Arbor Day, and it was great. We had a pretty good turnout. Mr. King from the Parks Department, is he maintenance? I forgot his first name, please forgive me. I had his brothers in school in 8th grade, but I can't remember his name. Anyway,
Bryce?
Yep. He had gold shovels for us to fill the dirt around our trees when we planted them, and he was great with the kids. It was really a fun day for us at McLaughlin, so I just want to make sure that thank you is out there to the Rotary Club of Oregon City and all of our parents that came as well, and the city. It was great. There was a reminder that I had. I can't remember what it was now. So, Joyce.
Well, I'll just, before you move on, just to tag on to that a little bit, and again, some of this is a little repetitive, but a lot of this is for our new members. Our city is a Tree City USA, which means we're certified, and we have to meet certain criteria to have a commitment to planting and maintaining trees, developing our urban canopy, our urban forest within the city, and we've been a certified Tree City for at least a couple years now. But we do these. We've done the Oregon City Cleanup Day for a long time, but we've kind of tied that in now with it's sort of the Earth Day, but also now it's the Arbor Day celebration, and we pick different sites and we go around and do all kinds of cleanup projects. And they actually did one at Wesley Lynn Park as well, where they cleaned up some of the pond area and some other stuff. Anyway, we have a budget to do some tree plantings, and so that's kind of a little bit what that's about too. So
That's great.
So while you were planting trees at your school, I volunteered that day. And I wanted to go to Wesley Lynn Park because that's my neighborhood, and I wanted to go do something there. But that was an easy access area, and a Girl Scout troop came along, and so we let them do that. So I ended up being part of the ivy pull on Singer Hill, which is tough work. Actually, we didn't pull much ivy. It was mostly weed pulling, planting some native plants, trying to keep the bad weeds out and the good plants in. So, it was 3 hours of hard labor that I give to my city every year, and love it. And then you guys didn't come back down to the park, did you?
No, we worked until 2:30.
Oh, well, those of us who went to the park for the free lunch, and they had door prize drawings for those of us who brought food for the food bank. And I actually won 3 door prizes, and it was great. 2 hanging baskets, one I gave to my team leader, John Lewis, and then so it was really nice. But those new members next year put that last Saturday of April on your calendar to come to the park's citywide cleanup day. There are easy spots and there are difficult spots. And you get to pull weeds and plant and dig in the dirt, and it's fun.
Yeah, the neighbors are ecstatic about the work done at West Leyland Park. It was a stormwater facility, but it basically looks the size of a swimming pool, and it's just grass that's mowed down, and it's a little depression. But the park's been there 8 years, and there's not an ounce of water in it at the high water times because of the rest of the stormwater treatment in the area. And so they basically put flower beds and some trees and plantings around it. And so the neighbors have been looking at this thing that just kind of as a weed patch. And they mow the rest of the field, once a week. It looks like a golf course, but this one weed patch. And it looks great now. And the neighbors that are right adjacent to that are just ecstatic.
That's great.
Now you can't enjoy that view anymore.
Thank you, Joyce. Anything else? Justin?
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
If you're done.
I'm done.
I have some things to report from the Pioneer Community Center.
Great.
Great.
Pioneer rep.
I'm sorry.
Our pioneer rep, yes.
The first is safety issues of concern, increase of homeless men found sleeping on the grounds, and trying to engage seniors and loaning them money. We worked with Father's Heart and the police on trying to get information out to these folks and where to access appropriate services. I don't know, in the gym we witnessed something firsthand, and I don't know if it had any relationship to this, but someone had left their mobility device there and chained it up and plugged it in to the Pioneer Center electricity.
On the outside,
Yes, to recharge their battery. And after, I think right around 10 o'clock, the person showed up and unlocked it and sat talking on his cell phone for a while, and it took off. And I don't know if it had anything to do with this, being part of this problem. Number 2 is looking at quotes for an upgrade fire panel and alarm system. The current one is original to the building and it is past time for replacement. Several false alarms have been going off. Number 3, working with Clackamas County for increased funding on evidence-based practice programs for healthy aging. These include things like Walk with Ease and Matter of Balance. And number 4, looking ahead, volunteer recognition event the 14th of August during concerts in the park. We have flyers ready soon for that event, and including dinner, music, raffle prizes, and the annual charm. This year is a treasure chest as Oregon City treasures volunteers. And
Nice.
that's pretty much it.
It's always fun that they have a nice theme for that volunteer recognition thing. So.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'm going to add is that the community center is always very busy in the morning, and there's just lots of things happening. I mean, it's amazing to see how busy it is, which is good.
That is good. It's a busy place. That's great. A lot of
They
people
also
being
do the
served.
First Friday movies.
Yes, they do.
They sponsor that with the library.
Mhm.
And speaking of the library,
Yes.
whoop,
Good
whoop,
news.
yeah, yeah. So passing that library bond, and that's going to be, it's our park, so it's going to be taking a big chunk out of Library Park. But
We'll have some
Yeah.
conversations about that as the plans go forward. We'll be discussing.
it's the name of the park.
Yep, and
Something the local art critics have noticed is that some of the art is missing from the library has been removed on the front lawn.
Was that on purpose?
I don't know.
Because I know that those were all just temporary.
Oh, okay.
yeah, those are a temporary display. That's
All right.
why. Yeah,
Okay.
but there was some talk about. I guess it was well received, and maybe trying to do more of that type of thing or something. Yeah.
Great.
And I think it needs to be a rotating display and not the same thing.
Scott, I had one question that I actually saw relating to the library in that park. I was reading the Oregonian article relating to the bond being passed, and there was a question on there, a very concerned person that uses the spray park there, and wanted to know if that will stay.
Yes.
So, that's the answer.
There you go.
Yeah, we've already talked about that, and that's, it'll be incorporated into the landscape design there, and try to maintain as much of the we're going to lose some portions of the park, but keeping the active play areas as much as possible. But for sure, I mean, we just just 2 years ago, we rebuilt the spray park and upgraded it and made a pretty significant investment, so we don't want to lose that. Plus, that goes great with libraries. I mean, it's just great.
It does. Well, I'm glad you said that. I just wanted to kind of get the word out there. I thought that was the answer, but when I read it online, it made me kind of question what I thought I knew.
We are going to lose some big trees there, but we've already lost most of the big trees there, and I think the ones that are there all have Dutch elm disease, and will be needing to come out soon anyway. So that just,
That'll change the look.
trees have a lifespan, unfortunately.
Well, they passed their disease through the roots, so everything's infected.
They inoculated them, though, a
Didn't
few
work.
years ago, and it slowed it down.
That's true.
All right. Thank you all. All right, Scott. Staff reports.
Okay. Got a few items for you here, just and again for the new members, this is just part of the meeting where, in addition to the business items, we have, these are just tend to be kind of general update types of things, but as with anything, just feel free to ask me any questions that you've got about any of this. And some of this stuff may be a bit new to some of you, and again, if you want to follow up with some of this, I'd be happy to chat with you, converse with you either after a meeting or in a separate time. We can set up meetings to catch up on some of these things, but just kind of quickly running through the Glen Oak and Filbert Run Parks master plan process. We may have mentioned this part already, but we've got we whittled down our list of proposals to 3 finalists, and we've got those scheduled. Unfortunately, with the committee, which is made up, we have a selection committee, which is myself and Denise Kai. Denise is our assistant director, who will be at more of the future meetings, but she's not here tonight. And then three citizen members, one from the PrAC committee, which is Mike Mitchell, then one citizen from each of the 2 neighborhoods that the new parks are going to be in are on the selection committee. We had to bump the finalist interviews out to June 12th because of people being gone and people that are the representatives from the neighborhoods wanting to stay involved in the process. So we made accommodation, pushed back the process a little bit, but it's in the big picture, in the big scheme of things, it's not a huge issue. So at any rate, we'll be doing finalist interviews with our 3 consultants on June 12th, and then we'll select the one that we want to work with and go forward. And then I'll be reporting. So that obviously will be before the June meeting with PrAC, and I'll hopefully be able to tell you a little bit more about what's going on, and then we'll be getting that process kicked off and start scheduling some public meetings, and they'll be meeting with PrAC, and there'll be lots of you'll be very involved in this, engaged in this process. Mike is your representative to that process, and we'll probably also be giving you some feedback, and there'll be lots of discussion. Planning new parks is a unique thing. We don't do that a lot, and we're going to be doing 2 at once. And I think some of the past members that have been here for a while can tell you that's a real important thing. You get to help with the design, and then you get to see it through the implementation phase, and eventually build a new park and see that whole process. And that's one of the things that this committee really has the opportunity to be very impactful on. So it's a fun process. The status of Waterboard Park, as you may or may not know, a while back we had to close the trail access in that park because of some concerns about safety and liability and some things. And I can tell you that as of today, the access is officially reopened, and we have done some temporary things that are in place, but we'll be doing some more permanent things over the next few weeks. New signage, some new safety measures to deter or to warn people of areas that are dangerous, where you come up on a part of the trail that drops off a couple feet suddenly, and this might be one of those areas you might want to go to on your park tour if you're interested, and I can show you a little bit more about what we're talking about. But at any rate, lots of new signages up there kind of warning people, and we did a geologic survey to make sure that the safety issues were okay. We feel comfortable with that, and we got some recommendations from our risk management insurance agent that gives us some what we feel comfortable about warning people that yes, you're walking into a natural area with cliffs and basalt area that you do have slides and you do have falling debris, and if you want to come through here, it's okay. But every so often a rock is going to tumble down the hill, and you need to be warned about that. But it doesn't happen frequently. So at any rate, that's reopened as of today. Ermitinger House project update. We are in the process right now of bidding the construction project, and the bids are due on June 3rd, and we have a bid review committee that will get together on June 5th, and we'll have some type of an announcement about that shortly thereafter. Memorial Day event reminder. Every Memorial Day every year we do a really nice event. Our park and cemetery staff, along with, we have a volunteer group, the Friends of the Cemetery group, at Mountain View Cemetery. It's at 10 o'clock on this Monday, the 26th, and we have a really nice ceremony, speakers. We do some refreshments and light food and just some other activities. And it's, again, if you're looking for any type of a way to just celebrate or be part of the remembrance of Memorial Day, it's a really nice event.
Will the Gardner Middle School Band be participating again this year?
They will be
I think
there.
so. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
I will be there.
All right.
Okay. So and the JROTC and
Yes,
and,
the
yeah,
ROTC and our there's law enforcement agencies have a role, and we have lots of good things.
I'm
like
trying to
that.
remember. It's about 300 people show up to that.
Last year it was closer to 400 or more, I think.
Depends on the weather.
Depends on the weather, and yeah.
In the rain last
Yeah.
year.
Yep, in the rain. So people do show up. It's a very well attended event, and it's just one of those events where I feel really proud of our department that day. It's really nice.
It is a wonderful event.
Thank you. What's your involvement with the band?
Oh, my daughter's in the Gardner band.
Okay.
She plays the saxophone, so we get
So
to
you'll
go.
be there. All right, good.
So-
I'll see you there. Let's see. This is just kind of a heads up item on something that's maintenance related, but in case you have any questions or get any contacts about this, we will be doing in a number of our parks where you have a lot of the open lawn, open turf areas. We will be doing what's called broadleaf weed spraying. That just means we're trying to knock down some of the weeds. We're a little behind on that, as we are with a lot of our maintenance right now because of some staffing things. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But anyway, these big areas where we do the broadleaf spraying, we'll be putting up. You have to, by law, you have to put up some signs to say, hey, we're spraying some chemicals. Please, be aware. And for kids and dogs and so forth, we put up signage, and we're just trying to making it. This is part of that process of kind of getting the word out. So just that'll be taking place starting in about a couple of weeks, and that'll be at a few of our different parks. So this is just kind of a heads up to you, and if you have any specific questions about that, we can let you know. We'll probably be sending out, and I'll include you on an email just as further information, the actual list and dates of the parks. I bet that's what you're
I wonder
about
if
to
that
ask.
could be posted on the website and sent out to the neighborhood
Sure can.
associations.
It sure can. That's
Great.
That's a
And
good
is
suggestion.
Tots Park still chemical free?
It is, yeah, it is. We need the volunteers to help us with that one, yeah. But the big open spaces, we just frankly just don't have the ability
Yeah, that's
to do that. But yeah, so yes, neighborhood associations. Thank you for that suggestion, Joyce.
okay. Email notices going out on those. Thank you.
Excuse me while I take a note for a moment.
That's a good use with the neighborhood association Facebook pages,
Next, yep.
because the people that are near those parks are all kind of paying attention to those things.
Yeah. Yep, that's for sure. So, and then speaking of, I mentioned about maintenance and staffing and some of that kind of thing. Our recruitment of our park and cemetery manager, as I think a number of you know, we've been kind of in a transition period with that. So we have and again for the new members, I think I've said that about 20 times tonight, but I'll just keep saying it because it's true. We have Typically, at this meeting, you'll see another staff person. Our Assistant Department Director, Denise Kai, will normally be here. And then on occasion, in the past, we'll have had our Parks and Cemetery Maintenance Manager. We had a retirement that towards the end of the last calendar year, and we've been going through a little kind of reorganizing that area of our operations a little bit. And then for the last 45 days or so, we've been going through a recruitment process for that position. This is a really key position in our department. Again, one thing you'll hear me talk about a lot is that we have a small staff in terms of the amount of people, and it's important that we have a person that leads that group with a lot of efficiency, and there's a lot to do, and not enough people to do everything that we need. So at any rate, we've been recruiting for that position. I know some of you have been asking what's the status and all that kind of stuff. And I can tell you is, being a personnel matter, it's a little bit delicate, but we're I think pretty close to having someone hired, and I think I'll have an announcement in the very near future about that. And I'm looking forward to being able to talk more about that. And also, I would most likely have that person, if they're on board, as I think they will be, before the next meeting. I'd hope to bring them here and introduce them to you. And that person will be making an appearance, every once in a while. Not necessarily every meeting. I have to kind of think about balancing time with our folks, and that's why Denise isn't here, because she's been, as a lot of you know, Denise has been filling in that role admirably for us, and has been pulling a lot of weight, a lot of extra weight. So basically, the reason you haven't seen her at most of our PrAC meetings the last few months is because I've directed her not to be here, and because she's been working a lot. So anyway, that person would be more involved, and you would actually hear a little bit more in-depth reports about, for example, what's going on in the parks in terms of kind of our maintenance program and some of those types of things. So that is that. And then lastly, the last item I've got for you is that, speaking of staff and reports from people as well, and I know some of you have been asking about this, and it's on our plan to do this, is having at least once a year, maybe more, and again, kind of thinking about my folks and their time, and but having the managers from each of our division areas, which is I just talked about our parks manager. Denise Kai is our assistant director, so she's here a lot and kind of reports on some of the activities that are going on in the different areas. But we have a manager at our Pioneer Center, Kathy Wiseman. We have a manager at our pool, Rochelle Parsh. She also oversees and coordinates and puts into place a lot of the recreation elements of our department, the concerts in the park, the movies, day camps, and things like that. Our folks wear a lot of different hats. Bring those folks in and schedule them to give you maybe about a 15-20 minute kind of an overview of their operations. In the past, we've done a little PowerPoint thing, and so we're due to start scheduling those pretty soon. But with the transition of the staffing that I just talked about, and then we're going to do the park tour in July, and then we don't meet in August, so probably start doing those and lining those up in September. So maybe like every month you'll have one of those for 3 months in a row or so. So that's probably what we're going to be looking at. So, and then you receive written reports. We haven't done as good of a job as we normally do. Again, having to do with some of our staffing issues. But Denise emailed you the written reports that we used to send out monthly. We're going to try to get back on that, and those are that's just information that you may be interested in, and it may be more than you want to know or more than you want to read. But certainly, when you receive those, rather than just go through all of that at these meetings, that's just, here's something for you to read if you want to know. And if you have any questions about any of that information that gets sent out. And then we also send out other reminders and little tidbits. For example, yesterday I think I forwarded, or maybe it was this morning, I lose track because days get a little long sometimes. Actually, I think this morning I sent a notice about something that was forwarded from Public Works about the Lynn Avenue transportation plan for pedestrian stuff and opportunity for public input. And there's things like that, just so you know. You'll get these And that's just, again, it's for your information. You can do with that as you please. And I think on that particular one, there was a survey if you were interested in linking to that and giving your input and knowing a little bit more about that plan. So you'll get things like that from time to time that will just bump along and say, hey, if you're interested, here you go. That concludes my report.
Reminder that, talking of surveys, the movie survey is
Thank you.
open until the 29th. So you have a few more days to vote on your favorite movie for movie night.
We're getting some decent feedback on that, too. It's been fun to do that. So
Good. All right. Our next scheduled meeting is June 26th. And if we can, 45 minutes ahead. Do you think that'll be enough time?
Sure.
I think that's more than enough. Up at Rivercrest Park, right
Yeah.
at the restroom area, if you're interested in coming ahead of time to see what we have in the storage room.
it's pretty exciting.
It's very
So,
exciting. It hasn't been open for a year.
I'll put that we're going to do that at 6:15, and I will include that in the reminders and the notices for the next
Thank
meeting
you.
for you. So if you don't write that down or if you forget or something.
All right. Is there any good of the order? Ooh, I almost beat Bob's time. This meeting is adjourned.